We're going to look at the device aggregation setting in threshold configuration, and we'll use multi-CPU devices as our example. You configure thresholds from the admin tool, select alerting and event management, threshold configuration. I'll add a new threshold, set the name, and select the attribute to threshold against, so CPU. There's a range of vendor-specific CPU entity types, but I'll select the generic CPU, and we're going to threshold against load percentage. I want a rolling 5-minute average, so I'll set the interval to 1 minute, assess the threshold every minute, and the time filter to the last 5 minutes, and evaluate it against a threshold of 90%. The trigger setting has a couple of options while in breach, which will trigger a new alert every time it checks and finds the threshold is in breach. So in this instance, potentially a new alert for the same breach every minute that the threshold remains breached, and only on transition, which will only trigger the alert when the load percentage transitions from 90 or below to above 90. And I'll set a group filter for just the devices in my servers group. If I want to confirm the content of that group, I can just open the Add and Edit Groups in another tab, select my servers group and review the content, manually make any changes to that content, or configure an auto-grouping rule to update and maintain the group as needed. There's a lot of documentation and a bunch of videos around auto-grouping rules. Check it out if you're new to grouping. Back in the threshold configuration, and the last item we have is the device aggregation. If you want to set a CPU threshold against multi-CPU devices, you might not want it triggered when a single CPU exhibits load, and instead only trigger when the average load across the entire device is high, in this case above 90%. To achieve this, we set device aggregation format to average, and the threshold is now working on the average load of all CPUs on the device. You might want a threshold against total traffic or total data rates or errors across a device. There's a range of aggregation formats, and when combined with the threshold format, there's a wide scope of options available. As always, if you're having difficulty achieving the outcome you're after, check out the examples in the documentation, watch some of the videos, or contact Statseeker support. We're always happy to help.